Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about Eberron. Finally, we get to talk about Eberron. All right, so let's talk about Eberron. All right, so Eberron was announced this week as a setting for Dungeons & Dragons. Can't really say it was announced as an official setting because it wasn't. It was not announced as an official setting, which is very problematic. It has been announced as a setting that is available on D&D Beyond as playtest material that you will buy for actual dollars. So right out of the gate, this seems like a terrible idea. Tell me where I'm wrong, everybody. This sounds like Unearthed Arcana with a price tag. Like, whereas Unearthed Arcana from the very beginning has been free. So like, that's not better. That's worse, right? And Eberron content was already in Unearthed Arcana. So this Eberron as a setting for Dungeons & Dragons, not even an official setting, just a setting, right? Because it's just Unearthed Arcana. It's not allowed for D&D Adventures League, and it's not even fully baked. Like they're selling it as a product for D&D Beyond. There is no hardcover promised yet, which means it may never even reach to a hardcover. And if you're just selling D&D content that is just electronic content, that's just like all the other. How's that any different than a DM's Guild product, right? So Eberron gets even worse, right? And that is, here's the issue. I'm sorry to talk about Ravnica again, but I have to talk about Ravnica again. So the new Dungeons & Dragons setting, Ravnica, a Magic the Gathering setting for Dungeons & Dragons, makes Eberron completely redundant. Eberron is now unnecessary, completely unnecessary to Dungeons & Dragons, and serves no real function. And the reason why is Ravnica is official. Ding, 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 winner, winner, chicken dinner. This is the real deal. This is real content for Dungeons & Dragons. Not like, well, buy this product and maybe someday we'll make it into a real product. It's like a Pinocchio product. Like, someday you'll be a real boy, Eberron. Maybe if you get your wish and you're good. It's really strange, right? So, but here's the issue, right? Eberron is dead in the water now before it's stillborn. Eberron is stillborn as a 5e setting. And here's why. Ravnica and Eberron are the same setting. They're the same setting. They're both steampunk D&D. Welcome to steampunk D&D. They're the same thing, right? So it's like, what if magic was science? That's literally how Keith Baker, the creator for Eberron, describes the magic in Eberron. And Ravnica is like, we have these guilds, and some of them have steam power, and they use artifacts and machines. It's the same setting. Ravnica and Eberron are steampunk D&D. D&D, which has hundreds of thousands of players. They're asking for real D&D settings: Bladescape, Birthright, Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, Spelljammer. The list just goes on. Calamar. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. Right? These are all real settings. It didn't need a Dungeons & Dragons steampunk setting, and now it's got two, right? So Eberron has a hard, ugly fate awaiting it, and that is Ravnica is going to bring in a whole bunch of new players. It's going to be the D&D steampunk setting, and there's not going to be any players for a second D&D steampunk setting. These settings are too much alike, and I think it was a critical mistake to announce them at the same time, because there's virtually no difference between the two of them, right? Now, I want to be clear. I love Eberron. I think Eberron is a great setting, right? I love the Dragon Marks. I think it's really cool. It has a very cool history. I love the Lightning Rail. I think Keith Baker is really cool. I love the fact that Eberron was a setting that came out of a contest that Dungeons & Dragons ran and allowed everybody to submit ideas, and then they chose Keith Baker out of thousands of concepts that had been submitted from one-page write-ups, right? He actually won. Now, just to be clear, I submitted my own one called Legacy Knights, and I was defeated by Keith Baker. Defeated. Fie on you, Keith Baker, for defeating me. No, it was well-deserved. I think Eberron was a better setting than Legacy Knights. Maybe. I don't know. I'm still a little bitter about it. That's okay. Actually, I think it's cool that Keith Baker won the contest. I think it's awesome that Eberron came from this. But here's the thing. Some half-baked, pseudo status is not going to beat a hardcover coming out, 2 months before Christmas, right? Ravnica's going to win. Ravnica is also going to bring over 100,000 plus players from Magic the Gathering. Eberron doesn't have doesn't have a snowball's chance in a hot place to remain, right? It's just duplicate, redundant, and unnecessary, right? If Eberron had been announced on its own and been given a hardcover book, everybody would have a reason to be excited. Wizards of the Coast putting something on D&D Beyond and not publishing a real hardback book means nothing. It means absolutely nothing, right? You can get free adventures, free settings and adventures online. They're just like they're chaff. They're chaff, right? There's wheat and there's chaff. Wheat is the useful thing that you can create bread with. Chaff is the stuff that gets blown in the wind or burned away, right? Digital content is chaff, right? And the real hardcover books, because they now serve as a quality filter, right? And basically, Dungeons & Dragons is saying, Wizards of the Coast is saying, we again are going to have a little bit of a dance with Keith Baker, but we're not going to let him into the big show, right? And announcing Ravnica at the exact same time as Eberron, two fantasy settings that heavily incorporate modern elements, is just a terrible, 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 terrible idea, right? And I feel really bad for Keith Baker because he seems like a really nice guy, and it seems like he's had a little bit of shine that comes from Eberron. But I read his blog, and he has had some serious trials in his life. And when I read his blog and I hear his woes, which I think is a little weird to mix with your game design stuff, but he does it. I didn't go poking around in his personal life. He just put it on his blog, right? I really wonder if it was wise to, I really wonder if Keith Baker was actually blessed by winning that Eberron contest. Because some of the trials that have come into his life, I wonder if they came because Eberron came. And I think they very well may have, right? So, and here I feel really bad for Keith Baker because, again, it looks like Wizards of the Coast is helping him, but they're really not, right? They're going, look, everybody, it's Eberron. It's not official. It's half-baked cookie dough. You can't, we're not making a hardcover out of it. How is it different than any other DM's Guild chaff? We don't know. Who cares? We got a Ravnica book coming out in November, right? And that's really not that fair. I really don't think that's fair to Keith Baker. It's disrespectful to him. It's not really cool, right? It's just really not cool, right? So I really feel that the sad thing about Eberron is it doesn't matter. Sweep it off the board. Ravnica's coming. These two settings are virtually identical, right? And Eberron doesn't have a hope in heck of competing with Ravnica when Ravnica has the official seal of Dungeons & Dragons, has the official seal of Wizards of the Coast, has the official seal of Hasbro, and what Eberron has is, there's some DM Guild crap up on our site, whatever, right? These don't compete, right? An actual hardback book that gets bought in Barnes & Nobles matters. Another digital content, scrawl, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, right? And so that's my take on Eberron. I feel really bad for Keith Baker, and I really feel bad for Eberron the setting because I really would have cared if Eberron was getting what Ravnica is getting right now, a hardback book and the official seal of Dungeons & Dragons, Wizards of the Coast, and Hasbro, and not being treated like DM's Guild's chaff, I'd be very excited about Eberron. But it's not. It is a loser product when weighed against an officially backed Ravnica. Eberron is not a loser setting, but it will lose to Ravnica because they are not distinct. By the way, how did we get here? How did this happen? Why do we have two settings that are identical? And I'll tell you why. I feel that this is a miscalculation and a reaction, a fear-based reaction from Toys R Us going belly up and Hasbro having one less major place to sell My Little Pony, Transformers, and Play-Doh, right? And they freaked out, and I think there was some flailing that happened in the company, and that's how we came out with two settings that are virtually identical, and in a situation where Ravnica is absolutely going to face stomp Eberron, face stomp it, right? It's going to be rough to watch, right? So that's my take on Eberron. Please consider liking and subscribing. Take care.